stay in Myeongdong with breakfast at a French patisserie. It was honestly some of the best pastries we've had the whole trip. It was a simple stop, but the perfect way to fuel up before a long bus ride out of Seoul to Sokcho. Sokcho is about 5 to 6 hours from Seoul via bus, so we knew it was going to be a long travel day. Especially because the weather was not too great that morning and the rain was really setting in for the next couple of days. By the time we arrived, the weather hadn't improved and it kind of set the tone for our time here. We originally planned to stay in Sokcho for 2 to 3 days, but that didn't really go to plan.
6 hours later.
We had a quick dinner from the CU convenience store and headed to bed. Despite the weather, we still explored the local markets, warm street food, little stalls tucked away, and that classic coastal town feeling. There was something really charming about Sokcho. It just feels slower than Seoul. And the locals were not afraid of the weather. The markets were so busy.
Another rainy day in South Korea. Adriana's loving the weather.
That afternoon, we made our way down to the beach, hoping for a break in the clouds, but the rain really stuck around. Standing by the water, you could imagine how beautiful this place would be on a clear day. In the end, we decided to head back to Seoul earlier than planned. If the weather had been better, I think we would have absolutely loved it here. So instead of staying longer in Sokcho, we jumped back on the bus later that afternoon and made our way back to Seoul, which ended up being a really good call considering the weather in Seoul was much nicer. Day 7 started slow. We woke up and went for a gentle stroll down by the river nearby. It was one of those mornings where the city feels calm before it fully wakes up. Locals walking, bikes passing by, the sun already warming everything up. From there, we visited the first palace of the day. This palace was built in the early 1400s, and what makes it so special is how naturally it blends into the landscape. Unlike some palaces that feel very grand and formal, this one feels softer. It follows the shape of the land with buildings tucked into the hills, trees, and open courtyards. We spent time wandering through different areas of the palace, taking it all in. The architecture, the colours, the details on the rooftops. It was such a beautiful day too, sunny, bright, and definitely hot. This palace was quiet, elegant, and surprisingly calming for something right in the middle of Seoul. After having a quick bite to eat, we headed towards the Bukchong Hanok village, which sits right between the palaces and feels like stepping back in time. Bukchong is known for its traditional Hanok houses, and wandering through the streets here was such a cool experience. We walked up and down narrow laneways, around corners, and through little streets lined with these beautiful old homes. Mixed in with the Hanoks were some really lovely shops, small, curated, and very easy to get distracted in. It's one of those areas where you don't really need a plan, you just wander around and see where you end up. I did a bit of shopping at a skincare store called House of Corel, which was such a find. It was minimal, calm, and very tempting. I definitely didn't leave empty-handed.
From Bukchon, we kept walking up towards the area of Samcheon. As with many different suburbs inside Seoul, there's also a unique vibe here. It felt much more local, slightly quieter, and there are plenty of different galleries and cafes to check out. The sun here was starting to cook as we got near midday, but luckily we came across this bingsu spot for a much needed break. After the bingsu, we made our way down to the next spot, Gyeongbokgung Palace, probably one of the more iconic palaces in Seoul. This palace was built in the late 1300s and served as the main royal palace during the Joseon dynasty. This was actually the longest lasting and final dynasty in Korean history, which ended in 1897 when the dynasty sort of just rebranded to the Korean Empire. Seemed like the naming rebrand was mostly a play to modernize and compete with rising powers in the region, but ultimately it didn't matter too much as Japan would come to conquer the Korean peninsula just a decade later.
To end the night, we hiked up to Seoul Tower, and doing it at nighttime was absolutely worth it. There is quite a lot of stairs, but the moment we reached the top, the views completely made up for it. From up there, Seoul just glows. The city lights were endless, and there are buildings stretching in every direction. This view really puts it into perspective just how big and alive this city is. We also stopped by the Lovelocks area and added one of our own. There were thousands, actually maybe millions of locks already there, so we thought we may as well add another one. We spent a bit more time wandering around, taking it all in before heading back down. We were tired, happy, and completely full from the day. By the end of the night, we were exhausted, but it was one of those days that reminded us why we love traveling.